You want to know what makes a woman unforgettable? It's not her looks. It's not her status. It's not even her money. It's her value. The kind of value that can't be bought, copied, or faked. And today, I'm going to give you 6 unshakable truths that will make you a high-value woman. The kind of woman who doesn't chase, doesn't settle, and doesn't apologize for being extraordinary. You want to know what makes a woman unforgettable? It's not her looks. It's not her status. It's not even her money. It's her value. The kind of value that can't be bought, copied, or faked. And today, I'm going to give you one truth. One that has the power to shift everything in your life. Because until you master this, nothing else matters. A high-value woman owns her standards without apology. She does not dilute who she is to make herself more digestible. She does not play small to keep others comfortable. Her standards are the filter through which she builds her relationships, her career, her lifestyle. And when I say standards, I don't just mean what she expects from others. I mean the expectations she has for herself. When a woman lowers her standards, she is telling the world, I don't believe I deserve more. And the world believes her. That's why people take advantage. That's why opportunities slip through her fingers. Not because she isn't capable, but because she silently communicated that she would settle. The truth is, people will only treat you as well as you require them to. If you don't demand respect, you won't get it. If you don't demand excellence, you won't receive it. Owning your standards is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. It means you know your worth so deeply that you will walk away from anything or anyone that doesn't meet the level of respect, effort, and integrity you stand for. Does it feel uncomfortable sometimes? Absolutely. Will people call you too much? Without a doubt. But remember this. The ones who try to shame you for having high standards are the very ones who benefit when you lower them. Never forget that. And here's the truth that shakes people: your standards are not negotiable. They are not up for debate. They are not situational. Because the second you break your own rules, you send a message louder than any words that you don't really mean what you say. Consistency builds power. If you say you won't tolerate disrespect, then don't. If you say honesty matters to you, then let dishonesty be a deal breaker. The strength of a woman's boundaries defines the strength of her life. I've seen too many women confuse being flexible with being walked over. They think compromise means sacrificing their non-negotiables. But there is a difference between compromise and self-betrayal. A high-value woman knows that she can be understanding without lowering her bar. She can be compassionate without abandoning her principles. She can be kind without being a doormat. This balance is what separates her from the rest. Here's the part most women miss: high standards are not walls to keep people out. They are gates that allow only the worthy in. When you hold your standards high, you don't push love away. You attract the right kind of love. You don't push opportunities away. You magnetize the ones aligned with your vision. Lower standards create noise. High standards create clarity. And clarity is what allows you to build a life that feels like it was designed for you. because it was. So when I say own your standards, I mean own them with your whole chest, with conviction, with unshakable energy. Speak them, live them, breathe them. Let people whisper. Let them misunderstand you. Because while they're talking, you'll be rising. You'll be building. You'll be shaping a life that doesn't just happen to you. It is chosen, designed, and fiercely protected by you. Remember this: your standards are not negotiable. They are not weaknesses. They are not obstacles. They are your crown. And when you wear that crown without apology, you stop being replaceable. You become unforgettable. If there's one truth that separates women who rise from women who break, it's this: a high-value woman builds her power from within, not from approval. Approval is fleeting. Approval is fragile. And when you live for it, you are building your life on a foundation that will crack the moment it's shaken. True power doesn't come from how many people clap for you. It comes from the strength of your own voice when no one else is listening. When your confidence depends on compliments, likes, or someone choosing you, you are living on borrowed energy. And borrowed energy always runs out. Think about it. What happens when the compliments stop? When the likes don't pour in? When the people you've been waiting on never choose you? If your identity is built on approval, you collapse. But a high-value woman doesn't collapse because her validation comes from the inside. She knows who she is, even in silence, even in rejection, even in loneliness. This kind of inner power is rare because it's easier to chase applause than to cultivate self-belief. It's easier to scroll for validation than to sit with yourself and say, I am enough. But ease never builds greatness. A high-value woman chooses the harder path, the path of rooting herself so deeply in her own worth that no storm can uproot her. That's why people feel her presence before she even speaks. That's why she radiates something magnetic. Because she doesn't need to be chosen to feel valuable. She chose herself first. Let me be clear, this doesn't mean she doesn't appreciate love, recognition, or support. Of course she does. But those things are extras, not essentials. They're the decoration, not the foundation. She does not depend on them to breathe, to move, to rise. When you can stand in a room where no one claps for you and still know you are powerful, that is when you become unstoppable. That is when you stop being controlled by opinions and start controlling your own destiny. And here's what happens when you stop living for approval. You gain freedom. Freedom from manipulation. Freedom from comparison. Freedom from the fear of being disliked. Because when your self-worth is rooted internally, rejection no longer destroys you. Criticism no longer defines you. Silence no longer scares you. You stop chasing people and you start attracting people. Because nothing is more magnetic than a woman who validates herself so powerfully that the world can't help but believe her. So hear this and never forget it. Power built on approval is fragile. Power built from within is eternal. The day you decide that your worth is not up for debate, the day you stop begging for permission to exist, is the day you become a force no one can overlook. That kind of woman doesn't just walk into a room. She owns it. Not because people clap, but because her presence is already enough. Remember this: a high value woman does not wait to be chosen. She chooses herself first. She validates her own worth, and that is why she becomes unforgettable. Approval fades, but self-belief, that is power for life. Respect, it is not something you beg for. It is not something you plead for. Respect is commanded, and the way you command it is not through force, not through desperation, but through the undeniable presence of who you are. A high-value woman doesn't chase respect, she embodies it. People feel it in her tone, in her silence, in the way she carries herself without needing to explain. Presence is power. You can walk into a room without saying a single word, and the atmosphere shifts. If your energy carries the weight of self-respect, how you stand, how you look into someone's eyes, how you choose your words with precision instead of rushing to fill the silence. Respect begins long before you open your mouth. It begins with the aura you cultivate through self-awareness and conviction. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need to scream it. Her presence speaks louder than noise ever could. Too many women confuse attention with respect. They think if people are looking at them, if people are listening, they must be respected. But attention fades. Respect stays. Attention can be manipulated. Respect must be earned. A high-value woman understands the difference. She doesn't need to be the loudest voice in the room, but when she does speak, people lean in. Not because she entertains them, but because she carries a truth and authority that can't be ignored. Commanding respect also means knowing how to hold boundaries with grace. You don't have to raise your voice to assert yourself. You don't have to explain your worth 100 times. A simple no, spoken with certainty, has more weight than 1,000 justifications. A high-value woman isn't afraid of silence. She isn't afraid of disapproval. She knows that the moment she betrays her own boundaries, she loses the very respect she is trying to command. Respect is also mirrored. People will only respect you as much as you respect yourself. If you allow disrespect, if you excuse it, if you brush it under the rug, you are teaching others how to treat you. Self-respect is the soil from which external respect grows. When you walk with integrity, when your words match your actions, when your life reflects discipline and clarity, people have no choice but to acknowledge you. They may not like you, but they cannot dismiss you. And here is the ultimate truth. A high-value woman doesn't demand respect because she already embodies it. She is not desperate for validation because she validates herself every single day through how she lives, how she chooses, how she shows up. And that consistency creates something unshakable. Respect is not begged, not borrowed, not stolen. It is commanded. And once you understand that, you no longer fight for your place in the world. You own it. Remember this: respect is not about being liked. It is about being undeniable. A high-value woman doesn't ask for space. She becomes the space. She doesn't wait to be acknowledged. Her presence makes acknowledgement inevitable. That is the power of commanding respect. Emotions are powerful. They are fuel, they are fire. They are the raw pulse of being alive. But here's the truth: most people never master emotions are meant to be felt, not to control you. A high-value woman does not deny her feelings. But she also does not let those feelings dictate her choices, her actions, or her identity. Emotional control is the difference between being reactive and being unstoppable. Anyone can explode in anger. Anyone can drown in jealousy. Anyone can spiral in fear. That is easy. What is rare, what is powerful, is the ability to feel all of it deeply and still choose with clarity. A high-value woman. Woman doesn't confuse passion with chaos. She knows that the loudest one in the room is rarely the strongest. The one who can stay steady in the middle of the storm is the one everyone looks to for guidance, for strength, for leadership. The emotional control does not mean being cold. It does not mean shutting down or suppressing who you are. It means knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. It means choosing not to send that angry text, not to respond from insecurity, not to sabotage opportunities out of fear. It's the wisdom to pause before reacting, the strength to respond with intention, and the discipline to act from power instead of weakness. That is the mark of true maturity. Here's what people don't understand. When you let emotions control you, you give your power away. Anger gives others the keys to push your buttons. Insecurity gives others the chance to exploit your doubt. Fear traps you in a cycle of missed opportunities. But when you master your emotions, you are untouchable. No insult can break you. No betrayal can shatter you. No loss can define you. You will feel it, yes, but you will not collapse under it. And that resilience makes you extraordinary. Emotional mastery also builds trust. People trust women who can stay calm under pressure. They trust women who don't lose themselves in chaos, who can make clear decisions, even when everything is falling apart. That trust turns into respect, and that respect turns into influence. This is why emotional control is not just personal. It is magnetic. It sets you apart. Because the world is full of people who react, but very few who can lead with composure. And this is where your power sharpens. When your emotions serve you, instead of enslaving you. You will cry, you will love, you will feel. It's what makes you human. But you will not let temporary feelings destroy permanent opportunities. You will not let fear stop your rise. You will not let pain close your heart. That balance, feeling fully but acting wisely, is what makes a high-value woman unshakable, unforgettable, and unstoppable. Remember, these emotions are beautiful, but they are not the driver. You are. A high-value woman does not drown in her feelings. She rides their waves with mastery. That is why storms don't break her. They reveal her strength. There is nothing more magnetic than a woman who lives with purpose. Purpose is not about waiting for permission, waiting for someone to validate your path, or waiting for the perfect conditions to begin. A high-value woman knows that her life is hers to design. She does not live by default. She lives by intention. Every decision, every move, every choice is guided by the vision she has for herself, not by the expectations the world places on her. Too many women shrink their purpose because they're afraid of being too much. They downplay their goals to avoid intimidating others. They hide their fire so they won't be judged. But here's the truth: when you dim your purpose, you don't make anyone else brighter. You just rob the world of your light. A high-value woman does not apologize for dreaming boldly. She does not ask, "Can I?" She declares, "I will." And in that declaration, she becomes unstoppable. Living with purpose means protecting your time like the treasure it is. You don't give endless hours to people or situations that drain you. You don't entertain distractions disguised as opportunities. A high-value woman knows the difference between business and progress, between being liked and being respected, between filling her calendar and fulfilling her mission. She treats her energy as sacred, and because of that, she gets farther faster and with more clarity than anyone who scatters themselves thin. But don't mistake purpose for perfection. It doesn't mean you'll never fail, never stumble, never feel uncertain. Living with purpose means you are willing to fail forward, stumble and rise again, and move even when the path isn't clear. The difference is that you never abandon the bigger vision. A high-value woman may bend, but she does not break. She may pause, but she does not quit. Her purpose is the compass that always brings her back on track, no matter how chaotic life becomes. And here's the secret: purpose is magnetic. People are drawn to a woman who knows where she's going. Opportunities seek her out. Respect follows her. She doesn't need to beg for attention or chase validation. Her conviction is what attracts everything she needs. When you live with purpose, you don't need to prove yourself. Your actions speak for you. The clarity of your mission is louder than any words. That's why a high-value woman doesn't chase, she attracts. So let the world misunderstand you. Let them call you ambitious, intimidating, even selfish. Because purpose requires sacrifice. It requires boundaries. It requires saying no to the wrong things so you can say a powerful yes to the right ones. And in the end, those who once judged you will be the very ones inspired by you. Because living with purpose is not just about building your life. It's about becoming a light that shows others what's possible when you stop waiting for permission and start living with conviction. Remember this: a high-value woman does not wait to be chosen. She chooses herself, she chooses her mission, and she chooses her destiny. Purpose is her compass. Conviction is her fire. And that is why she doesn't just exist. She leads, she builds, she transforms. There is a truth that separates women who are merely seen from women who are unforgettable. Value comes from rarity. The more available you are, the more people take you for granted. The more you give without discernment, the more people expect without appreciation. A high-value woman understands this deeply. She is not everywhere, she is not for everyone, and she is not accessible at all times. Her time, her energy, her presence are privileges, not entitlements. Being rare does not mean being arrogant. It does not mean looking down on others. It means honoring yourself enough to be selective. A high-value woman doesn't let just anyone into her world. She knows that who she surrounds herself with will either elevate her or drain her. That's why she doesn't hesitate to close the door on relationships that dishonor her standards. She knows that love, respect, and loyalty must be earned, not demanded without merit. Scarcity creates value. Think about it: diamonds are precious because they are rare. Time is valuable because it is limited. The same principle applies to a woman of worth. when she chooses to give her attention, her care, her love. It is special because not everyone has access to it. That's why people don't forget her. Because she is not constantly available, her presence becomes something people notice, crave, and respect when they finally have it. This is also why she never begs, never overextends, never chases. The moment you overgive, the moment you prove yourself to people who haven't earned it, you diminish your value. A high-value woman doesn't prove. She allows others to earn. She doesn't chase. She attracts. She doesn't over-explain why she's rare. She simply is. And people can feel the difference. That quiet, steady confidence is more magnetic than any performance or plea could ever be. Being rare also means knowing the power of saying no. No to mediocrity. No to disrespect. No to opportunities that don't align with her vision. She doesn't say yes out of fear, obligation, or desperation. Every no she speaks is really a yes to herself. And that kind of discipline not only preserves her energy, it multiplies her impact. Because she's not scattered, she's focused. And that focus makes her impossible to ignore. And this is the ultimate truth. A high-value woman is unforgettable because she refuses to be common. She is selective with her presence, intentional with her love, and unapologetic with her boundaries. She doesn't dilute herself for mass approval. She doesn't need to be everywhere, doing everything for everyone. Her value lies in her rarity. Her power lies in her unavailability. And her magnetism lies in the fact that when she does choose to show up, she is unforgettable. Remember this, a high-value woman does not beg to be noticed. She is remembered because she is rare. Her energy is not scattered, it is sacred. Her love is not free, it is earned. And that is why she is not just seen. She is unforgettable.